5 things Rust does better than every other language, starting with you can ship it and forget about it. There's this feeling you get when shipping Rust code that I haven't experienced with any other language. And this feeling is so common that the Rust community even has a phrase for it. If it compiles, it works. When you deploy Rust code, you just move on. You don't sit there wondering if you forgot to handle a null pointer exception. You don't wake up at 2 a.m. thinking about a race condition you might have introduced. Because the compiler has built-in guarantees to prevent these types of bugs. And I know if it compiles, it works does sound like a meme or an overpromise, but honestly, after writing Rust for a while, it's disturbingly accurate. The Rust compiler checks for null pointers, type mismatches, unhandled errors, and etc. to prevent an entire category of bugs from being included in the code you ship. And then there's Rust's fearless concurrency. In Rust, if concurrent code compiles, there are no data races. You literally cannot share mutable state across threads unless you explicitly prove it's safe. Rust doesn't just warn you about these issues, it refuses to compile unless you fixed all of them during development. The second thing Rust does exceptionally well is giving you a single toolchain that just works. Once you've experienced Rust toolchain, it's hard to go back to anything else. You want to start a new project? Simply run cargo new. To run your code, just type cargo run. Add a dependency, run your tests, generate documentation, benchmark your code, one command each. And all of this works out of the box. No configuration files, no hunting for the right build system, no downloading separate tools. Cargo handles your dependencies, your build process, your testing, your documentation, your benchmarking, all in one unified tool. The third thing Rust does well is it permanently transforms how you think about all software. I remember writing only Rust for a few months and then getting back to a small TypeScript project. And all of a sudden, I was asking myself questions about the TypeScript code that the Rust compiler usually asks me. Who actually owns this data? Are we mutating the original object or making a shallow copy? Are we handling error cases properly? These were fundamental engineering questions that Rust had trained me to think about. When you're working in Rust, it forces you to clearly think through things like memory management, mutation, failure cases, concurrency, data flow, etc. And in the age of AI, this matters even more. Because engineering was never just about typing code. It's about problem solving, systems thinking, understanding trade-offs, failure scenarios, and how software behaves under real-world pressure. The skill to reason deeply as an engineer will only become more valuable over time. Because as AI makes code generation cheaper, good engineering judgment becomes more and more important and scarce. And Rust is one of the best teachers for that. Because when you code in Rust, the compiler constantly forces you to think and reason like a true engineer, and not someone who just moves code around and says, I guess it looks good enough. The fourth thing Rust does better than any other language is this. It's one of the only languages that can genuinely run across almost every computing environment without performance compromises. Java was supposed to be write once, run anywhere. But that came with trade-offs. A virtual machine, garbage collection, less predictable performance. But Rust is different. Want to build a blazingly fast CLI tool? ripgrep, FD, bat, delta. Rust already dominates that space. Want to run performant code in the browser? Rust has become the go-to language for WebAssembly development. Need firmware on a microcontroller? Rust does embedded too. High-performance backend services? Axiom and Actix are right there competing with Go. Rust also runs on desktop and mobile apps. Here's the perfect example. 1Password uses one Rust core that runs across desktop, mobile, web, and browser extensions. One codebase, every platform, native performance. With Rust, you can move between all of these domains while keeping the same language and the same safety guarantees. The fifth thing Rust does better than any other language might actually matter the most over the next decade. Future-proofing your career in the age of AI. The common fear is AI is going to replace software engineers. I don't think that's what happens. I think AI replaces the middle of the stack. The boilerplate, the repetitive CRUD work, the why are these APIs together work, the kind of coding where being decent is good enough. That part gets compressed hard, which means engineers get pushed in one of two directions. You can either move higher level into product thinking, stakeholder management, AI orchestration, and agentic workflows. Or you can move lower level into areas like systems engineering, where Rust is being used the most in the real world. Why? First of all, a lot of this work lives in heavily regulated industries. Medical devices, defense, aerospace, automotive. You can't walk into a safety meeting and say, yeah, AI generated most of this, looks good. The error tolerance for these systems is nearly zero, because the lower in the stack you go, the more each and every single line of code matters. And someone needs to deeply understand and take ownership and be a stakeholder of these projects. Because you won't be able to just blame AI when something goes wrong. For this type of software, it's not about generating as much code as possible. Rather, it's making sure every component works exactly as intended. And Rust is increasingly becoming the go-to language of choice in these domains and industries. And honestly, speaking from personal experience, learning Rust and moving deeper into systems engineering was one of the best career decisions I've ever made. And this is the exact type of career transformation we've been able to help our students make inside the Rust Live Accelerator mentorship program. We're opening 30 spots for the next cohort this June, which is only a couple weeks away. So click the link below to join the waitlist and reserve your spot. Inside, you'll be mentored by professional Rust experts who will give you code reviews, help you understand architecture, and get you to the point where you can build production-grade Rust software with confidence. On top of that, we have a team of recruiters and career coaches who will help you turn those skills into high-paying Rust roles. We've helped hundreds of developers, and we want to do the same for you. So click the link below to join the waitlist. You'll be the first to know when applications open, and you'll also get our 3-step Rust developer roadmap as a small gift. So tap the link, join the waitlist, and I'll see you inside.